Hello there guys, what is up? Welcome to the Level Up podcast. I decided to bring this back as kind of a mini-sode kind of thing, because Talking Point wasn't really doing what I wanted to, so I thought I'd bring back the podcast temporarily on and off, just as a kind of pace breaker or an icebreaker to kind of break up some of the stuff I've been doing on here. But this is in fact it's 100% game-centric, this particular cast. It's all gaming related. To kind of kickstart it, I guess, we're going to talk about some news, and that would be the Kingdom Hearts 3 has actually been given a kind of announcement. It's going to come out in the beginning half, or beginning quarter I should say, of 2018. And a kind of cool reveal, which I believe dropped yesterday at the time of this recording. I'm recording this on a Monday, so this would have been Sunday. The Toy Story arc has been added to it, so they're actually going to bring in like a kind of toy world sort of thing from the Toy Story elements, which I really like, because Kingdom Hearts 3 was a game in my first podcast, the official Level Up, I did say was the game I was looking forward to, like when I thought it was coming out last year, but it didn't. Towards the tail end of last year, early 2017 or early this year, whenever it was I did the cast, I'm pretty sure I was hoping that they would do Kingdom Hearts 3 and they would bring it forward, and they finally have, which is really cool. So I am definitely looking forward to that. Hopefully you guys are as well. It's hopefully it's going to be a brand new open world RPG, like massive. It's actually going to be probably the biggest open world RPG that Square Enix have done for a while, I believe. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, and hopefully you guys are as well. So it's not major news, but I thought I'd mention it nonetheless. Assuming that they keep the arc going, or my sources are incorrect. Hopefully they are correct. It is a Toy Story arc that they are adding to Kingdom Hearts 3. Next up is the overall response of the Crash N.Sane Trilogy. Now, I don't want to hop on this too much because, you know, the game's already out, so, you know, there's not what can I add to it that I haven't already. I've already done a thoughts and opinions video kind of getting my idea across of what I think. And there's a few videos with it as well on and off, but nothing too major. But I think, and I'm sure hopefully many of you will agree, that the N.Sane Trilogy is an example of a remaster done really well. Difficulty aside, that shouldn't really be an issue. I think overall Crash N.Sane Trilogy has been a great success so far, and I think Naughty Dog have kind of seen that when you do a remaster, if it's done right, then it can be an amazing thing. But when you remaster like old games just to kind of give them that last hurrah, whereas I think Crash still has a lot left in it as a series. I don't know if you guys feel the same. But hopefully if there is a new Crash game aside from, say, something like a spin-off, like a Skylanders Imaginators or something, where Crash and Cortex were playable characters, but they weren't actually focused in the game. They were optional characters. So something more Crash-centric or Crash-focused is what I'm hopefully looking forward to if they make a new Crash game. So that's hopefully going to be cool. My third section, I guess, was kind of a fun thing I wanted to throw in before the closer, as I called it, and that being the game of the 90s. Something I think about sometimes is, was the 90s a great decade for gaming? I think it was. I'm not saying it was the best, it's purely subjective here, because different eras, different people, you know, horses for courses, as they may say. I don't know if they say that where y'all are from, but they do where I'm from. Very rarely, I must admit. So I have a few suggestions here as to what I think are some of the best games of the 90s, and I'm sure I'm missing tons out, and I'm sure that you guys have differentiating opinions, and I kind of wanted to get like a topic going in the comment section, so please feel free if you want to kind of give your idea or your suggestion of what you thought the game in the 90s might be. Some suggestions I wrote down, these are not my pure opinions, but these are some that I think are top contenders, is Mario Kart 64. Hell, even just Super Mario Kart for the SNES was probably one of the best kart racing games of all time. I think it still holds up to this day. The original Pokemon trilogy, Red, Blue, and Yellow, I have them emulated on my 3DS, so I enjoy playing those from time to time. But I tend to go back to the originals. I have an original cartridge of Blue that I play on my Game Boy Color sometimes. Shows how old school I am. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was a suggestion. I thought it was probably one of the best RPGs ever made, hence why they've re-released it on the 3DS. They put it on the Wii U Virtual Store. They've done a lot with it, with the console game itself. I have an original cartridge. You can clash that with Majora's Mask. You can put them both together. You can kind of combine them as both being great games. And probably my fourth suggestion, to kind of link it back to the previous topic, I would say the original Crash games, the original trilogy before the remaster. I think definitely some of the best platformers ever made. I'm sure I'm missing out tons of games, like obviously Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know if you guys remember Croc Legend of the Gobbos for the PlayStation. That was an awesome platformer. It was pretty basic, but it was done well. Was Yooka-Laylee a failure? That was a question I had to ask myself, because as much as I think we wanted it to be a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, I don't think it was. But to say it was a failure was something that I had to question, because I'm like, the mechanics were there, the gameplay is there, the creativity is there, but the heart is not. And that's what I struggled with to determine whether was it really a failure. I don't think it was in the grand scheme of things, but it wasn't what we expected. Again, a lot of video games become victims of their own hype. There are a lot of games that people hype up or tout about for many years before their initial release. I may be doing so with Kingdom Hearts 3. For all I know, this game could be an abject failure. I don't want it to be, but it could very well be. Square Enix or whoever's developing it could just say, you know what, we're done. You know, why try? You know, we've got the pre-order sales. They could just coast off the legacy of Kingdom Hearts 2, 2.5 and so on. They could just coast off of the sequels and the spin-offs and just say, yeah, you know, we'll just make an average so-and-so RPG with light battling elements and a slight open world that's more hub area type thing. That's what they could go for. We don't know that. But I think that's not giving the development team enough credit, so hopefully they pull through with Kingdom Hearts 3. But to go back to my original point before I went off on a tangent, was Yooka-Laylee a failure? And I don't think it was. I think it was a victim of its own hype. But it's still something that I would recommend to gamers. I think it's something that, if you have the system requirements for it, it's worth playing. I think as it's their attempt at a love letter to their favourite games, the developers' favourite games of their childhoods. Much in the same way that Mario Maker was a love letter from Nintendo to the fans to say, here you go, create your own levels, do something crazy with it. But I think I'm going to leave it there on a hopefully nice positive note. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.